formally welcome everyone who's now joining us to the webinar Jam, the first webinar of LJMB.
The person who's delivering our learning session this afternoon is a best selling author, a champion speaker. He's won awards and Toastmasters, and a trainer and coach for career and professional development. He has published 12 books to date, including Your First Job, A Practical Guide to Success, Your Career Roadmap, How to Get the Job You Want and Love the One You Hate, and Soaring High, Your Flight Plan for Your Best Career Ever. You can check out more of his books in nelsond.com. This year, we have partnered with about 30 years of corporate experience in manufacturing and marketing. His day job is being assistant vice president for a well-known beverage conglomerate. He runs two of its packaging factories. This year, we have partnered with him to help develop and coach more professionals and leaders in the country. So if you're looking for a coach who would surely help you boost your career to the next level, he's the person to go to. So let's all welcome our speaker, Coach Nelson.
Thank you very much, Rain, for that wonderful welcome. And hello, everyone. And I'm so glad that you've chosen to share your lunch break with us. I trust you had a good meal. And today, we're going to whet our appetite for potential. I hope you hear me well. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you cannot. And what we're going to do is this. We're going to explore questions that will seek to maximize your opportunities, your solutions, and even your purposes. So let me start with a story. As Ray had said, I run two factories, and we have this Japanese set of equipment that runs on a certain software. From time to time, the machines would stop running. Why? Because we had problems with the software. But my people don't know how to access the software, let alone fix it. We don't even know what's the software. So as we went to this problem-solving session, it's going to cause us a lot of downtime. Because what we usually do is this, we email the Japanese guy there, and he'll tell us, try this, try that, and we have ping pong left and right. Oh, hey, explore this or try this out. No, try this one. So as you can imagine, it took several days. And meantime, machine is down. And so our operations head, let's call him Adrian, he said, yeah, the problem is that the Japanese OEM will not share their machine progress with us. And had I stopped there, we could say, yeah, what can we do? But we asked this powerful question. So what would it take to make the Japanese guys share their software with us? And so we bounced around several ideas and hit upon this idea of NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Mr. Japanese guy, you trust us, we trust you. Give us access, give us copies of their software, give us some training how to troubleshoot the software. Then we can cut down the troubleshooting quicker and the machines will run faster. And they agreed. And so now we have the NDA and my production head is happy. That's an example of a powerful question which will seek to look beyond your restrictions and see what is possible. And this is where now we are sharing with you the three powerful questions. What makes a question powerful? There are three. One is that it elicits pondering. Have you ever had this conversation? Hello, how are you? I'm fine. Okay lang. Yeah, have you had that kind of a conversation? There's no that much thinking there. But what if the next time, try this out. What wins are you celebrating this week? Oh, wait a minute. The other guy, oh, that's something new. Do I have a new win? What makes a win? And how I'm celebrating it? Notice what happens. The guy begins to think. And deep down inside, yeah, I had a good week after all. And I'm going to share with you my story. That's what I mean by pondering. You have powerful questions that stimulate thinking. In other words, they help you reflect. A powerful question is one that will give clarity. There are many things. Have you ever had this experience? There's a lot of things inside of me, and I just need to bring it out. Yeah, I have this feeling of something that I have to articulate it. The powerful question will help you there. The other one is that it will help stimulate concepts. I think through a certain item, then it becomes more and more clear. And this is what I learned. Aha, this is now the idea that will revolutionize everything, like the NDA. Another one, it will change the way I think and it change the way I do. I'll do things now differently. Now, I'm going to give you some example questions. Some of them are my favorites. And then I'm looking at the chat box over there. Feel free to share with me your favorite questions that elicit reflection. So, for example, when you now have this particular conversation, you're asking powerful questions and you want to have clarity. This is what we call definition questions. When you say this, what do you mean by that? Okay, that's a good question because when you have this conversation with your boss, with your direct report, with your peer, and you want to be clear, when you say this, what do you mean? And you let him answer. Another one would be the concept, this is a discovery question. What are you realizing about this? What have you learned? And for the action question, the change, that delta, what small steps can you take to go from point A to point B? Somebody had said, okay, the team will take care of the people who have difficulty. I hope it can be resolved quickly. So what will happen is that hopefully this will be in a YouTube, so you'll not miss a thing, you can replay it. So number one, what makes a powerful question? It will elicit pondering. It makes people, I never saw it that way before. Number two is that it will make you explore possibilities. Have you had this conversation? We have a problem, and the other guy say, yeah, what can we do? We have no budget, no people. Technically, it's not possible. We did it this way, it didn't work. Nothing will happen. It will not work. Yeah? What will you do with people like that? Then nothing will happen. But what if you're able to ask powerful questions which will break through the barriers and see what can be done instead? So, powerful questions help us discover new ideas or new perspectives. And this is where another thing comes in. You have to be really open to an exchange of ideas. Later, we'll talk more about it. And you must also be able to think, what are the exciting scenarios that can happen? Let me give you a bonus question. What exciting future can happen in your life? No, wait a minute. What exciting future can you create in your life? Have you ever thought of it that way? For example, you may be thinking, well, my default is to be an employee forever. Okay, I may become a supervisor, become department head, but what other exciting futures can I create for myself? Isn't that a possibility question, something powerful that makes you explore certain scenarios like, I want to have this side hustle. I want to open a baking business. I want to write my book. I want to be this, travel around the world. When you have possibility questions like this, the sky's the limit. And you may even be excited by what you can come up with. The other one will be outside the box solutions, like for example, the NDA. So if you find yourself blocked by a certain limitation here, limitation there, you're facing a chronic problem, shipping, accounting, sales, you may want to think, what else can we do? And these are the examples. Also, like I said, feel free to put in the chat box your own personal favorites, share with the group. As I go along, because of the Wi-Fi connection. It may take some time for me to read the chat, but here is some example. For example, how might we, if let's say we have this particular dilemma and we tried this, now maybe we just pause and sit back and say, okay, how might we do this differently? What if we do it this way, not that way? If you want to challenge assumptions, if you want to break the barriers, you may want to ask this question. Does it really have to be? Ganyan ba talaga? Why? And you may want to say, tell me more. You go back to the pondering question. Why does it have to be that way? And just because some people say so, just because they did it in a certain way, does not make it necessarily so. So this is the other example of a powerful question. It will help you expand your mind, explore uncharted territory. Does it really have to be this way? And you can apply that not just in the workplace, also in your personal life as well. Now, the last thing about a powerful question is that it empowers people. My personal philosophy is that at the end of the day, you may have products, systems, processes, but at the end of the day, it's about people. Yes or yes? Give me a chat box. Put me in the chat box. You say yes and yes, you agree. Yes, yes, yes. At the end of the day, it's all about people. And what will happen is this: a powerful question will say, yes, thank you very much. Yes, agree, agree. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for the affirmation. At the end of the day, it's about how you lead people, how you motivate, inspire them. For that, you seek to empower them. And powerful questions will be the avenue for that. What do I mean? Well, powerful questions help us to act. First, it identifies, and then it will seek to break and free us from self-limiting beliefs. I cannot do it. Well, okay, what can you do? Notice we flip it from a negative to positive. Even if it's a little small step, now you have a sense of control, you have a sense of action, and you have a sense of achievement. And by the way, that sense is addictive in a good way. The more you feel that you've accomplished something, the more you want to achieve more and more. And therefore, as I said, unlock potential. There are also new ways of doing something, or it can create a better result. Here are some examples, and you may want to try them out. And if a person's favorite question that has the same effect, please share in the chat box. What is stopping you from? Okay, that's a good question, because if you now have this problem with your team, okay, what's stopping us? What are the obstacles? Then you may want to see what can we do to work around it. Here's a trick, which I'm not showing in this slide. Think of the flip. Think of the opposite. Okay, this is the obstacle. What's the opposite? And then how can we make that happen? And you may want to have this. What have you tried so far? And what has worked for you? If what has worked for you is identified, then you may want to duplicate that or even amplify that. Okay, so I do hope it is helpful. Say that it is SH, super helpful. Please put in the chat box. SH, super helpful, not super heavy. SH, are these helpful for you? One, a powerful question elicits pondering. Number two, it will seek to expand possibilities or explore possibilities. And at the end of the day, it empowers you, empowers your team, empowers all your people. Thank you very much. Super helpful. I'm so glad to hear that. Now, here comes the crux, because we are always into application and practice. And some people may say, okay, now I have an idea. What are the three things about a powerful question? How do I get to ask them? And here's the tip. It is not by following a script. It is not by following a formula. Why? Because each conversation, each situation, each problem can be different. And so to come with a script may not work, because you may have to change the script real time. And that makes, wait a minute, so how can we deal with that uncertainty? Well, this is the best advice I can give you. And if you will forget everything else, just remember this one slide. And this is it. There is no right one technique, but you have to be the right person. Notice on the left, what are the powerful questions? You've already learned that, okay? And then I want to go to the opposite direction. So how do we ask those powerful questions? The intersection is you. And what I mean is that you have to have the proven traits to ask those powerful questions. There's no correct script or formula. Otherwise, you'll sound robotic. You'll sound like the census taker or the guy in the restaurant of what is your order, sir? You cannot force it either. It has to be something which you flow out of the conversation. But for that, to make it easy for you, you need 3 traits. And the beautiful thing is this: each person can have that trait. It can be developed or nurtured. So trait number 1, you have to be curious. Okay, people say, how can I ask a powerful question when I'm not a genius? I don't have a high IQ. I don't have this engineering training, this master's degree. Maybe you don't need the IQ. Well, IQ is good, but you may need this even more. You have to have this insatiable appetite to want to learn. You must be curious. Okay? The first thing you need to do, especially also in critical thinking, is to be curious. And what I mean is this: people who ask powerful questions are not afraid to say, I don't know. Do you know people like that? That people, they put a face, then I know everything. And if I don't know everything, I'm not going to tell you. I just bluff it out. Have you ever had like that? But people who are asking those powerful questions, they're so secure in themselves, they will not be afraid to admit ignorance, because they know that the first step to wisdom is to admit what you do not know. The other thing is that you have to be curious, but you have to dig. You have to ask the follow-up questions. You're not settling for the first answer. You will now have to ask, okay, tell me more. Tell me more. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? If we do it this way, what do you think will happen? So you dig, you probe, you explore. Gently. Later we'll talk about that. That you have the certain techniques so that it's not going to sound across as like interrogation, but more like we're going to explore. It's like exploratory surgery, very gentle rather than going rampant. And last but not least, you're hungry to learn. You're curious, you want new information, new perspectives, and therefore new results, especially if it's an improvement of something, improvements of process or sales, or even your purpose in life. And here is a set of prompts. And you may want to try this out after your lunch and learn. I'm curious. Tell me more. Can you tell me about this? Okay, notice what happens. When you say, I'm curious, you're putting yourself on a humble position, and therefore the person you're talking to feels free to tell you what's on his or her mind. Oh, my boss is receptive. Oh, Nelson wants to hear my side. Then tell, I'm curious. Help me out here. Help me understand. Okay, so that's where now the technique is. When you want to ask a powerful question, you have to be quiet, calm, not be defensive, admit you do not know. Mr. So-and-so, today I'm your student. Can you tell me more about this? Tell me more. Okay. Now, second, you have to be caring. Okay. Pretend you are a suspect in a murder mystery. Okay. Help me out here. So as you know, you've seen those TV shows, the police or the FBI, they put you in this interrogation cell, right? And there's good cop, bad cop. They're both curious, of course. They want to interview you to find out what you know, especially if they think you're guilty. What's the essential difference? In a chat box, can you tell me what's the difference between the good cop and the bad cop? Sige nga. The good cop is what? The bad cop is what? Anybody? All right. Good cop protects. Oh, that's great. Yeah, okay, go on. What's next? Who else? Thank you, Jericho. Bad cop can be scary. Yeah, you're right. He's going to snarl, he's going to threaten you, going to throw you to jail or worse. Okay. Good cop does not judge easily. Yeah, I'm not here judging. Feel free to talk, and if you don't want to talk, it's okay. Or would you like to have some drink? You'd like to have some food? Okay. Anything else? That's good. This is a good conversation. Bad cop tries to pin you down. Yeah, I did it. You're guilty. You shot that guy. Okay. Good cop interrogates to know the truth. Is assertive. Bad cop is aggressive. I like that. Okay. Assertive and aggressive. Okay. And then good cops are considered. Yeah, that's true. He's this sensing, feeling kind of guy. Oh, he establishes trust. Yeah. Good cop, meek. bad cop, aggressive. Maybe good cop, meek, bad cop, mean. Okay, I like this conversation. And you now have this particular concept. When you're going to ask a powerful question, be like the good cop, not the bad cop. The good cop cares, or at least he makes a sure of caring, so that he will establish the trust, the rapport of the suspect, you. But the bad cop, have you ever had like this? You have this kind of person, a boss or a peer, and he will ask you questions, but it feels like you're being grilled. Ano ba? Ganito ba? Ganito ba? Right? But the technique is this. You have to show caring. You have to show compassion to the other person. You have to also be what? Safe. And that is why, okay, the bad cop can use threats. Okay, so that's where now the powerful question, the power comes when you're doing it out of a caring heart. People who ask powerful questions are warm, not formal. Because studies show if you do it too formally, the other guy will tend to climb up. The other one would be make others feel safe. That's where, again, we have this concept of psychological safety. And they have a high, not IQ, EQ. They know how to manage emotions. They're aware of your emotions. They're aware of their own emotions and how to manage them, especially if the other guy, the guy you're going to ask that question, feels like, what's going to happen? Am I in trouble? So that's where now the powerful question comes in. I learned in a past coaching class, when the mind is comfortable, and relaxed, the mind is open. And the powerful question works as magic. And one of the 3 tips would be this. And also give me more tips if you have them in a chat box, how to be caring. Express appreciation. Express appreciation. Just the thank you. May encourage the other person to share more. Thank you for sharing that. I learned something new today. Oh, thank you for your time. Thank you for being honest. I value that. The other one would be to ask what, not why. Here's a particular tip which I really love. As much as possible, don't use the why, because it may sound like you are accusing or interrogating. Why did you do that? Versus, I'm curious, what made you do that? What were the reasons? Notice you're now depersonalizing. What were the reasons that you did that? And notice now it's more safe. So try not to use why, but what. And another thing, you give the person a way out, okay? You seem to be. So it's like you are afraid, okay? But you seem to be afraid. So it's like giving the person a sort of an excuse. Actually, I'm like this. I'm not really afraid, but I'm like this. You seem gives you the impression that you make an observation, not an interpretation. You seem to be having difficulty at work. Tell me more. What can I do to help? You notice now the power of you seem to be. And that gives you another point wherein it makes the other person feel that you are connecting. You're noticing his or her situation and you care. Okay. Last, you are constructive to ask a powerful question instead of shifting blame. Blaming this, blaming the economy, blaming whatever. You're trying now to be constructive, even redemptive. For example, you do not address personal, ganito eh. No, you now address issues, okay? Even assuming this guy did something wrong, you do not say the guy is incompetent, stupid, etc. What were the conditions that led to the guy making that mistake? So you address issues. Is it there's a unclear instruction? There's a process that has a flaw? Is it something like a miscommunication? Address issues, not personalities. And then a good, powerful question, instead of looking backward, yeah, backward is good, but the trend is more looking forward. What can we do to be better next time? What have we learned so that we will be not making the same mistake again, but be even better? And here is one secret. A powerful question highlights strengths, resources, and commitment. For example, if the guy shares with you a story, you may want to affirm, I can see that you have the talent for being proactive or having foresight. I like that. So notice what happens. You're now identifying where he's good at, and that is affirming. And you have the resources of this. For example, you have access to learning. You have access to these people that can help us. And you're so committed to what you do. When that happens, you now have the ability to make powerful questions based on that, rather than you're such a loser, you cannot do anything, where's your commitment? Things like that. Now, here are some examples. What are the root causes of this? So instead of shifting blame, kasi ganito eh. No, okay. What's the real root cause here? What led to that event? What can we do better? And here is what I use in the example. What will it take to? Assuming money is no problem, what can we do? And if money is a problem, what can we do to get it? If let us say, oh, I will not pitch this proposal because the boss will say no. Okay, tell me here, help me out here. Why do you think he will say no? Oh, because he'll say no budget. All right. What will it take to have the budget? Oh, you now have to explain this, selling the idea. Or another powerful question. Can you do the same thing at practically zero cost? Oh, let me think about it. Yeah, I'll beg, borrow, steal this. I can ask this outsource for free. And then you have your solution. Notice the power of powerful questions wherein you expand your possibilities because you are constructive. Okay, we have 5 minutes more. So now let me give you some bonus tips about how to ask those powerful questions. Remember, you are the key to the powerful question. It's not a script, it's not a technique, it's you. You have to be curious, caring, and constructive. But here are some practical tips how to ask the question. Number one, make it simple and clear. Simplicity is key. What is the effect of this? That's it. Okay? Very simple. What is the effect of this? Or what can we do differently? These are two simple and clear questions versus if you ask only one question, it'll work. But if you combine the two, notice what happens. What is the effect of this and what can we do to be better? Then I don't know which question you want me to answer. Or if I ask that question and you give me an answer, okay, what are we answering now? So is it like this or this? And how do I know it will work? So try to have one question at a time, not combine the two. There's a technique in problem solving. It's this, one variable at a time. We have a machine wherein we have a problem and there are, let's say, 5 variables. And the way we solve the machine is this. We change one variable at a time and let's see what happens. Then someone said, sir, to save time, let's change 2 variables. Then I said, okay, if you do that and the solution is there, was it because variable 1 or variable 2? I don't know. So that's why in your powerful question, focus, simple and clear, one question at a time. Then let the question flow from the conversation. Don't force it or you'll be robotic. Trust the process. If you're the proper person, you listen, you care, you're constructive, the question will surface, you ask it. And by the time, if the other guy trusts you, because you're safe, you're caring, you're constructive, all the more he will cooperate and share. Then be patient for the other person. You don't answer your own question. Have you had a tendency? I do. Okay. Many times we're so uncomfortable with silence. And sometimes when that happens, you are talking, the other person, shuts up. Yeah. And then you're not so comfortable. You're not trying to fill the air. You jump in and say something. That's a no-no when you want to have that kind of a conversation, because when you ask that question, you wait. Maybe the other guy is pondering and you be patient, because then the other guy will then tell you in due time. Because if you will resist the urge to step in, he will want to step in because he also may not be comfortable with silence and he will tell you the answer, but you give him space. Okay, so don't answer your own question. It sabotages the process. Now, you free the question from embedded assumptions. This is what we call the leading question. That's why the way you word it is also important. For example, do you think that if I spank my child, which is a good parental thing, do you think that will be a criminal offense? Notice the question. Do you think that spanking, which is actually good for parenting, constitutes a criminal offense? What's the embedded assumption? You're thinking that spanking is good. Who said so? When you have that, that's no longer a powerful question. That's already a biased question. So you free the question from embedded assumptions. Do you think spanking it's a criminal offense. Well, why do you say it's a criminal offense? Then you explore. The new concepts can be there. The other points be, oh, no. Now, take a chance on a tough question. Sometimes we can be too nice, but there'll be times that you have to ask the tough questions. Example, do you think the market does not trust our product? That's a difficult, painful question, but maybe it has to be asked. Sales are down. Why? Could it be? And let's try it out. Maybe the people don't trust our brand. And that's painful to admit if it's true. And the trick is not to be defensive, but to ask the next powerful question. Mr. Customer, what do you think of our product? If it's good, why do you say so? If it's bad, why do you say so? And then you give the follow question. So what can we do to make it better? Then you have market feedback, rather than you answering your own question, or worse, being trapped in your own biases. Now, for negative feedback, you may want to try this technique, especially if the other guy is, conflict averse. He doesn't want to be nasty. He doesn't want to give you bad news. So the workaround is this. If you were, pretend lang, you're a devil's advocate, what would you say about this? And so the guy feels safe because I'm just role playing, but I'll tell you what I really think. This thing sucks, okay? But I'm playing devil's advocate. Last, and this one technique which you may have not heard before, and it's quite revolutionary. Say at the start, I'm going to ask you some questions, but you're free to change it later when the new data comes in, when you have a different kind of thinking. Don't be afraid. I'm not locking you in. With this conversation is fluid, you're free to change your answers later. Notice what happens. Oh, it's safe. I don't have to defend, because if I say something, and if let's say they're contrary facts, then I'm going to be defend to death. But if I have the freedom to have this particular change of thinking, then all the more the powerful question will be effective. And so now we will summarize this. What makes a powerful question? Three things: elicits pondering, explores possibilities, empowers people. And for that, you need to be three things: curious, caring, constructive. Now, I'm going to give you a homework. If this were a workshop, I'm going to have this right here now. But since it's already time for Q&A, think of a situation that you'll face later. After you pack up your lunch or whatever, you go back to the office, you see again this problem, you see again this person, you see again this paperwork. Now, think of this situation. What do you want to happen? Do you want to elicit pondering in yourself or the other guy? Do you want to explore possibilities? What can be done rather than what cannot be done? Do you want to empower your team? Then what trait, what mode will you be adopting? Will it be in curious mode, caring mode, constructive mode? Then from there, what powerful question will you try? And I do think that as you do so, it would unlock the potential you are looking for. And when that happens, you will have your team that has a bunch of aha moments. And boy, that's a great place to work. Thank you very much. That ends the conversation. And then let me invite you. There are several of you who may want to meet me in person. Here's the opportunity. If you love books, remember, MIBF is coming back. Manila International Book Fair. It's going to be at SMX Convention Center, September 15 to 18, but I'll be there on the Saturday. At 1 o'clock, I'll be signing books for a Christian book I authored, and another one at 5 o'clock, a purpose book that I offered. Meet me there at this particular booth, okay? And then I'll be glad to see you. We can have a great time in conversation. Ask me other questions you may have from my talks. And you may want to explore my other books on career. Rain said I have written several books on career. Here they are: Your First Job, Your Career Roadmap, and Soaring High. You can find out more in my website /books. And these are my social media handles. Follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and let's continue the conversation. Rain, I give back to you for other questions that our guests may have.
Thank you so much for those powerful tips on powerful questions, Coach Nelson D. I'm sure you have more questions for Coach Nelson. So if you want to continue the conversation with him, we'll send the link in the chat room, because you can book a free 15-minute discovery call with Coach Nelson right after this session. But before that, let's open the room for some Q&A. You can unmute yourself to ask your question or type your question in the chat room. Let's wait for.
Hi, Sir Nelson.
Mhm.
Yes,
I would just like to ask po, how can a powerful question can help us advance our careers?
that's a great question also. That's a powerful question per se. Look at it this way. How can you advance in your career? When you're able to accomplish a lot, right? Okay, you exceed expectations. Now, how would you do that? When you're able to ask what needs to be done, what are the possibilities, and also empower people. You ask them the question that will make them support you, that makes them also exceed their expectations. What happens? You're a leader, you're an achiever, kung lang overachiever. When that happens, your boss or the boss will say, hey, this person is something. He knows how to ask powerful questions and get things done. And what happens? Your career will skyrocket. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad to help.
We're opening the room for 2 to 3 more questions. You may unmute yourself or type your questions in the chat room. Okay. We're waiting for a few. There's one question. Is there a good and bad questions?
Okay, I love that question. Again, this is the thing about Q&A. These are powerful questions. My thinking is this. When I said there is not a correct script, that's true. And the good and bad question, the bad question is the one where it defies the principle. You're not being curious, you're close-minded, you're after the yes or no, just follow what I say. The other one would be the bad question where you try to shift blame, evade responsibility. But here is another concept for you. It's not exactly good or bad question. Is it a useful or useless question? Notice the difference. Okay, so if it's something that's useful for you, and by definition it can be powerful, then that's where you go. Don't think about, am I asking the right question? Baka it's a wrong question, nakakaya naman. No, probably that's your hang up. So what I would do is like this. What is the objective of my question? What will be useful for the purpose? And I try to couch it in a powerful way. When that happens, the chances of you having the good or the right or the useful question works in your favor. Does that answer your question? I hope so. All right, so I have another one.
Your second one. Are there any cultural nuances that affect how we ask questions?
The answer is yes, because it depends on how the different cultures receive questions. For example, I would, at the risk of stereotyping, the Americans, they prefer straight talk. They shoot you a straight question, they don't mind being shoot back unless balat si buwis ang American na yan. But let's say for an Asian, you may want to be the gentle one, the exploratory one, because it may be, they may feel that you're attacking them. There's a face involved. So perhaps the rule of thumb is that if it's Western, you can do the straight shooting. If it's Asian, you have to be conscious that, they may be thinking about, is this going to be a conflict? That's where now, again, if you are coming across as curious, caring, and constructive, they will let their guards down. Oh, Nelson-san, that's a good question. Let's talk some more. So things like that. So yes, culture exists, but also remember, it can also be the culture of your organization. So is your organization something like very command and control or very egalitarian? That's also a factor. The point is this: what is the powerful question that will elicit the best response based on curious, constructive, and of course, caring? Nobody, I think, will be angry at a caring person. I hope that works.
Hello, Sir Nelson.
Yes.
So I have a question. How can we
Sure.
identify these bad cops in just a simple observation?
Oh, how can I identify the bad cop? Oh, that's a good question. And of course, I think pagpasok lang sa kwarto, alam mo na. Okay, diba? The way he would look at you, the way his body language. But I think it's like this. If the bad cop, his question tends you, turn you down, wear you down, put you down. Okay, it brings you on a negative spiral. That's a bad cop. But if a good cop, even though you may think it's manipulative or anything, but the general principle then, if a good cop or a good boss or good leader builds you up, then that's the opposite of a bad cop. If that guy builds you up, makes you become better, more collaborative for a common superior good cop. If the bad cop, you're nothing, bobo. Alam ko ang sagot, ikaw hindi. And then he may pretend to ask questions, but in reality, there's a hidden agenda. He may even grab the glory, and that's a bad cop. Will that help you?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you to
Anything
everyone
else?
who asked their question. I'm sure some of you have more questions. So if you want to continue the conversation with Coach Nelson D, you may scan the QR code flash on the screen or go to calendly.com/LJMB/Nelson D or call, text, or Viber us at 0917-822-5562 so you can book your free discovery call with Coach Nelson.